Sí, està obert. Vos ho volia demanar.
Ja està obert, però bueno, a veure si... Bueno, el van obrir el dia... És el dia 10. Sí, o avui o demà.
Jo no l'únic que he fet va ser el dibuix. Però perquè treballava fort.
Sí, nosaltres abans teníem un equip d'artista, Hòstia, ella vol treballar al Twitter, ja li va bé perquè s'ha organitzat la vida moneda.
Sí, treballant al cap de setmana i 3 dies. No, l'Augmented Reality.
Ah, va, no, és que aquí tal.
No ho sé.
El Black estarà aquí español, però
Pues mira, ara ho demanaré. El que no sé si farà declaracions abans, estem que no.
No, se me hizo.
Hauria seguit des de la relació.
Sí, pues usted y tú.
No. Ja parlarà.
Nuria. A ver, saluden, no sé qué.
Ja ho sé, ja parlarà. No?
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Com ho hem de fer?
Com va tot?
Estem aquí.
Bueno, sí, això és important, això és important. Sí, mare.
Content de veure.
Bon dia, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Foment del Treball. And as I always like to say, Foment del Treball is the home of entrepreneurs, of small entrepreneurs, small companies and self-employed people and SMEs, big companies, corporations. So we love to represent most of the sectors of our country, Catalonia. We represent 70% of the GDP of Catalan GDP, and we have around 260 companies of our country. And we also have a reality before us, and we are proud of it because we are celebrating 250 years of our birth. And I must also mention that throughout this term, with the new government of Foment del Treball, we have included organization beyond the audiovisual sector. And we have also added the cultural sector and also the sports sector. So once again, I'm very happy to be able to talk to you. So we're of Zoom brands organized by the AV cluster of Catalonia, with whom it's a great pleasure to collaborate. It's also a pleasure to collaborate since its birth about 8 years ago. I would also like to welcome dear President Noemi. Thank you for always being with Foment, and we are extremely happy because the professionals of the AV sector see in Foment a space to share all their projects. So we are slowly leaving behind the uncertainties of the past. I will, of course, like to welcome IES, represented by Mr. Blackman.
Barcelona opens of the sixth of future editions of the ICA. We open the doors of this city to you. També vull donar la benvinguda a Joan Torrella, director de Turisme.
I would also like to welcome Joan Torrella, Director of Active Barcelona, also Cristina Domènech, Coordinator of the General Secretariat of the Deputy Presidency of the Government of Catalonia. And I will also like to welcome Joan Qatar, Coordinator of Information Content of the local AV network, Jordi Fortun, Gloria Farques, and Lelia Pla from the Audiovisual Catalan Corporation, and also Mr. Norris, President of the Radio and Television of Catalonia. With ISC, we signed an agreement to place the AV sector at the core of the cultural development of our country. So Zoom brands is the best way to start this path that we all want to walk jointly. I would like to especially thank the speakers of this event. I would like to welcome Joel Mestre, Country Manager of at NEP Group Spain, and also Carlos Henao, Marketing Director at Zona Team. I would like to wish you an excellent walking session, which is especially relevant in the midst of the pandemic, which is having a huge impact in the organization of events, also company events. Fortunately, technology has allowed us not just to keep our agendas alive, but it has, well, these new platforms are expanding the life cycle of our events and increasing our audience. It is true that we are facing an economic scenario with a lot of uncertainty, and there has been clearly a year in which companies and workers and civil society as a whole has suffered from the ill effects of COVID. But I would like to finish by sharing my optimism with you. I am sure that despite the inflation process and the economic scenario of the Spanish economy, given the increase of the prices of raw materials and the lack of raw materials and increase of the prices of energy, an inflation that will probably not last long, but from Foment we are sure this is going to be the year of recovery, despite all the difficulties I just mentioned. we will be able to achieve optimistic results. So welcome to Foment, and I wish you all
Moltíssimes gràcies.
a very fruitful walking session. Thank you.
Bon dia, buenos días, good morning, en nom del
Good morning, bon dia.
Un any més,
On behalf of the AV cluster,
una iniciativa amb la que tenim l'objectiu
this year we are celebrating once again Zoom brands, events and brands, which aims to
audiovisual i plegat
create bridges between all the brands in the sector, especially with the AV sector, and share knowledge and view and vision on the future, and share some thoughts to be able to face a present and future which is more demanding from a communication perspective. In previous occasions, we talked about communication proposals, trends, formats, new technologies, and in this occasion, we'd like to reflect on the present and future of big events and the needs and the challenges of brands to be able to
ha estat un factor important
meet the needs of big events. The AV sector has been extremely important, given all the technicians that allow us to offer camera and sound and translation, and also AV content for brands, so they can share the messages, show products, and show demos. But today, more than ever, the AV sector is essential. It's actually essential in the pandemic. So events can take place in a creative and fun way in a digital environment
són exigents
with an audience that's more and more demanding.
no s'escapen d'aquest suport.
And
El context,
events,
doncs, és molt
of course,
favorable
are
i hem
also
d'aprofitar
part of that
les
trend.
oportunitats que el mercat ens ofereix
So the
per
context is
consolidar
favorable.
i fer
We
créixer
have to make the most of the
l'audiovisual
opportunities
català.
that the market's offering
Ja tenim aquí
to
la Fira
help the
Internacional
AV
de l'Audiovisual,
sector
avui el senyor
grow.
Blackman
We
la
have the
representa,
International Fair
ha de poder deixar
of
aquesta fira un llegat
the
en la
AV
nostra
sector.
indústria
Mr.
per
Blackman is the
la
managing director of ISE. So
Barcelona ha
this
estat i ha de
sector has to
seguir sent un dels grans
give something to our sector, but also to our city.
esdeveniments,
Barcelona
fires i
should keep
congressos.
on being
Abans
one
de
of
la
the
pandèmia
main
teníem
sites
més
for
de 200
fairs and
cada any,
events.
situant-se
Before the
entre
pandemic, we had
les
over
quatre primeres
200
ciutats
events
del món
annually.
i
It was one of the four
atraient una
biggest
mitjana
cities in the world with
600.000
most events.
persones a la ciutat,
It
amb
attracted
impacte
over
econòmic.
600,000
Això
people
té
to
en
our
diversos
city
sectors,
with an economic impact.
en la ciutat, però també en el nostre, en l'audiovisual.
That's extremely important for
Així
many
doncs,
sectors,
tenim una
but
indústria
especially
audiovisual
the
a
AV
Catalunya
sector.
que és una
And so
indústria
we have
molt
an AV sector in Barcelona that which is extremely powerful in terms of quality, creativity, diversity, and also permeates many different sectors. So we have a company that covers all the value chain in the AV sector. It doesn't have to do with content, but also communication, entertainment, media, technology, engineering, creativity, and the reason why we're here today, events. So welcome, Pipo Serrano is going to be in charge. He's going to be the host today. So you can follow us from this room, but also virtually and in 3 different languages, in English, Spanish, and Catalan as well. You will be able to find that tab for different languages on your screens, and you will be able to select the language you wish. People, good morning.
Moltes gràcies. Noemí.
Thank you.
Gràcies, Noé.
Thank you, Noemi.
Bon dia a tots i totes. Buenos
Thank you, Noe.
días.
And good morning.
Thank you everyone for coming here. És un plaer tornar a estar un any més al
It's a pleasure to be
marques i
back.
sens dubte no puc afegir molt més del que ja han dit el senyor Sánchez Llibre.
In this event, in Zoom events and brands, there isn't much more I can say after Mr. Sanchez Gibra and Noemi Puni. I must mention that today's edition will focus on the importance of events, especially
Amb el que això
on how brands are using this event and everything around it, how the audience is consuming the events and how it has become a place to share knowledge and beliefs and values and share objectives as well. Today,
implica com el senyor Blackman
we tend to think on events
de forma ancestral, la gent ha tendit a
like the
trobar-se en grans indrets per
what Mr. Blackman is doing here and the mobile, but that's already part of the past. We used to meet in very big facilities to share experiences. Also, well, just like in the Roman circus, which could hold 35,000 people. I'm sure Mr. Blackman would love to have this many people with him.
Bé, en qualsevol cas,
So,
són importants aquests grans, però també són importants
but in any
aquests
case,
altres happenings.
these big events are extremely important, but
Marques, consumidors,
there are smaller happenings as well, organized by brands and consumers and smaller audiences, and places where they meet to share. And today we are celebrating this happening with very specialized people that are part of the sector who are extremely interested in listening to experts of as important as the people that are here with us today. That's why I would like to invite Mr. Blackman on stage.
Europe. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, lots of wires there. I també a Carlos Henao, por favor, és director de màrqueting.
And also Carlos Henao,
Adelante.
director of Sono Team.
I avui també hauríem d'haver comptat, com ha dit el senyor Sánchez.
And today we should also have had with us somebody else, Joel Mestre from NEP. He is the country manager at NEP, but unluckily, well, the pandemic is creating some issues also in his house. But given that this is an AV event, we might be able to see him virtually, or he might share some messages with us. But first of all, I'd like to, well, we see there are two more chairs here with us, and there's a reason for it.
Carlos, Mike, comencessin explicant-nos una mica el que ells poden aportar al
But
sector.
I would like Michael to share with us what's going to happen in the sector, so they can share some content to understand what they are actually doing, and then we'll ask you some questions.
With ISE, but of course, it is your first time in Barcelona since the announcement that you made some days ago, saying that you have to postpone the edition of this year up to May. It looks like a good decision, what we're seeing right now, but is it due to the COVID effects, the effects on the, let's say, the travel industry, on the confidence of the companies and their people?
It's a multiple of these things. We have constant contact with our customers, our exhibitors and our attendees. We are listening to the messaging and information from the government, from partners, and we had a combination of many aspects that put us in this decision. Primarily, the effect of COVID is we felt that things were getting better, and the discussions we had in December made us confident that we could actually run an event in February. We've seen that the Omicron has really grown phenomenally in the last weeks, particularly not just here, but across Europe. And although what we've seen in Spain, coping with the situation much better than many other countries, and the protocols we put in place together with FIRA, together with the city government to help maintain safety, it's still the concerns that our exhibitors and attendees had in their own countries as well. So this confidence to travel was not there. People felt uncomfortable moving from one place to another, and we were seeing the effects of these. Our customers asked us then to postpone, to move this event to a later date when they felt that people would be more confident.
Com compareu el fet de tenir Mike Blackman aquí a Barcelona per primer cop després de l'anunci
And the fact of having Mr. Blackman with us for the first time in Barcelona,
del que va passar, Mike, I was saying that
well, forces us a bit to ask you some questions.
I make you some questions about ISE.
Of course.
But you just mentioned FIRA Barcelona, and FIRA Barcelona they were really gentle with you in terms of moving fast, accepting a kind of a crazy situation.
Yeah.
We're talking about, ISE had in 2019, on their last normal edition, 85,000 people, I think?
Just over 80,000. We ran the 2020 show.
With
52,000.
Okay.
And we were just at the beginning of the effects of the pandemic then.
Exact.
But coupled with that, we had this huge storm across Europe that closed many airports, particularly Amsterdam was shut for 2 days, Frankfurt was shut, London was shut. We saw this ripple of airports being shut down in the middle of the exhibition.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is FIRA moved fast.
Extremely fast.
Knowing that there's a lot of people that had to come. I don't know if the fact that, you were initially, you had an agreement for being here until 2023.
Correct.
I don't know if the fact that the 2 first years are getting a bit unusual, let's say, will make that you can long a bit your relation with Barcelona? Are you planning to make that agreement until, I don't know, maybe 2024, 2025?
This is in discussion. I can tell you that what we've experienced in these difficult times has given us even more confidence in not only FIRA, but the city of Barcelona, in the whole region of Catalonia. The support we've had from the governments, from the different associations, from organizations like the cluster in supporting us and helping us move through this time has been phenomenal. And it's given us even more confidence that Barcelona is the right place for ISE.
Great. We will love to have you here for many years. Let me just ask you two more things. First, in 2020, when you were celebrating ISE in Amsterdam, that was around 11th of February, I think?
Correct.
Something like that. On those days, John Hoffman was in Barcelona announcing that he had to cancel. And you were celebrating that. Now, you are postponing, but John is saying mobile is going to be here on the ends of February and beginnings of March. Did you talk with him before canceling, or I'm sure you talk a lot because you complement each other, but how are you managing that?
I mean, we do hold contact. You know, every time we've made any decisions, we've actually let John know beforehand, because we realize that anything that we decide will affect mobile, anything they decide can affect us as well. So we are keeping communication lines between us open. It's courtesy. We're in the same business, we complement each other, and we don't want to damage each other. I think John's decision to go ahead is correct. You know, we're seeing the modeling that we have seen produced by the Spanish government and other organizations show the current peak starting to go down, and the fact that this should be towards the bottom or near to the bottom by the end of February. And I think that puts mobile in a very good position to go ahead.
It sounds like. When I was reading about you on these last days, preparing a bit the session we're going to have together, I discovered that the first time you were in Barcelona for a Congress, it was in 1991.
Correct. Yeah.
And you were also connected to technology and innovation and all these amount of things connected to audiovisual, of course. And you realized that things changed in Barcelona to move here with ISE due to the fact that you were on a taxi. And when you talked with the taxi driver and you realized he could just take you all around the city, you kind of said, okay, this city changed.
We were concerned. We did surveys. You know, making the move to Barcelona was a huge decision. Making the move from Amsterdam was an even bigger decision. And we had concerns originally, and we did some surveys with our attendees and exhibitors, and we asked them on specific cities what their thoughts were, what were the things that actually encouraged them to actually go to an exhibition in a city. And we looked at aspects like ease of travel, the offer of accommodation and hospitality, the restaurants and cultural life, and communication, language.
Absolutely. And
Barcelona scored very high in almost every aspect, and when it came to culture and hospitality, Barcelona was scoring at the top. But there was one point where it scored quite low, and that was on language. And my previous experience of being here in '91, when communication with Spanish people, many people, their English was non-existent or very limited. My experience now has been everybody we interact with, and then particularly when we look at the points of contact that our customers will have, which are taxis, it is the restaurants, it is the hotels. The level of language has increased phenomenally, that this city is so much more welcoming for people who don't speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mike, I will ask you something else, but I would love to know more about ISE, about the edition of this year. I'm sure you can explain us a bit about it, and then I'll try to get some other question, other answer from you, so that we can dive a bit more on your relation with Barcelona. Go ahead whenever you want.
So, I know some of you may not have seen ISE, and we have a short video, I think, which is, we say pictures speak louder than words. We're in the AV business, so we produced a video to just give a small taste of ISE. We can run the video.
Let's see it, yeah. Can you play that video?
Join us on the journey to 2022. Integrated Systems Europe in Barcelona. Ever growing, never static.
The audiovisual and electronic systems industry is one of the world's most dynamic. Day by day, new opportunities are emerging with a need for new solutions. Solutions for better innovations, better technologies, better systems, and better connections. On a global stage, providing more modernity, sustainability, accessibility, and more space. Where partners can thrive and grow together with us for years to come in an environment that matches their same core values. Join us on the journey to 2022. Integrated Systems Europe in Barcelona.
That gives a little taste of what ISE has been and what we anticipate it to be in the future. I particularly want to talk to you about the importance of exhibitions and events for brands. That's what this event is about. Obviously, I want to show how ISE fits into that picture as well. But more importantly, to say why are events important for brands? What do we offer in that in terms of brand marketing? And I came on to going back to my marketing studies, and in those days we spoke about the 4 Ps. This is expanded to the 7 Ps, which is products, promotion, price, place, people, process, and physical evidence. And you're all marketing people, so I'm not going to teach you about all these factors. And I think it's we all recognize how we're promoting ourselves. But I want to focus on the one part which is, affects us here, which is promotion. Forrester Research did some surveys, and they said and the average around 90 million is being, or a quarter of the average B2B budget on marketing is spent on live events. So that puts us, you know, when we are involved in live events, in a very, very good position to actually not only, firstly, on what we do as companies, but secondly, in actually producing live events and how we create platforms for companies to promote themselves. The key factors of why we do events, finding customers, prospecting, doing market research, recruiting partners. There are so many aspects on live events that we can actually get immediate information, immediate feedback about what our brands and how effective they are. How does ISE fit into this? Well, when we started in Geneva, the show was very much about products. There were many companies still showing solutions, but it was very much about products. It was where the major companies came to actually show this is the newest projector, this is the latest screen, etc., etc. Our attendees were mostly the sort of people who are in this room, the channel. Those companies who are buying AV products, putting them together into solutions and reselling them to end users, to customers. And when we speak about end users, we're talking about corporates, not about consumers. Presentations that you saw there were more product-oriented. What has happened is 18 years on, that has moved on to being that solutions are at the forefront, content and learning. Brands have become more knowledgeable about what they need to do to market and promote themselves. They're more aware of what's possible, what they need to do, and what they can do. TV has been at the forefront, but now the web has become a much more cost-effective platform, but also a more important platform. Digital is a big part, and AV gives the possibility and the platform to present, for brands to present themselves in a very good digital way. The second part of that as well is creating AV content has become much more cost effective now. I see many of you, yes, we're using broadcast cameras, but I did an interview earlier where it was done on an iPhone, and we have everything in between. So creating content has now become much easier and much faster. The result is customers or brands are trying to present themselves in a more sophisticated way and need to do that. At ISE, the major exhibitors present themselves, they present their solutions rather than just products. They realize to actually reach the brands, they need to actually show what they can do with these products rather than what the product can do. The result is our audience has changed. We've transitioned from being an event that was very much channel-oriented to an event which is now growing more and more, bringing the brands, the corporates, the end users who need to use AV products and solutions to present and promote themselves. And it ranges from smart home designers, architects, live event professionals, people in the hospitality sector. You see more and more hotels, restaurants, etc., using AV to create their environment, to present what they're doing. Enterprise and IT, quite a while back, many companies said AV was part of IT. Now it's changing. More and more companies recognize that AV is a situation, is a very important sector in itself. IT is part of that as well, but it's no longer they say, oh, give that to my IT guys. We want to see the AV professionals now is the word which is coming out. We're seeing retail changing phenomenally. If you go down the Paseo de Gracia here, and you'll see so many of the stores using digital displays, using digital signage, presenting their solutions, their products, their latest designs with digital screens rather than physically there. I give you an idea as well. Look at Tesla. Tesla showrooms in many countries, many cities, are put in A1 locations. You know, in many cities, it's going to be a street like Paseo de Gracia. You can't have a showroom of that with 20 cars in such a location. So they're using digital displays to present their solutions. They're using augmented reality to create concepts for the customer. So many things which our industry helps them. And the next sector, which is really has grown phenomenally, and we've seen very much in the pandemic, is education. In the physical format, how education, universities, schools, etc., are using AV products and solutions to actually teach and educate. But we've seen in the last 2 years, schools, students transform into using platforms like Zoom and Teams to be able to continue their education. So this is where our industry really, really gets involved, and why ISE presents a platform that can actually help them continue and be further. So it's changed now to be more about solutions and services. It's about education. It's about knowledge transfer. It's about showing what we can do rather than what the products do. So that's in a nutshell what ISE is about. We've moved that date. Our slogan this year is Rise Up, Reimagine and Ignite the Future. That's what the AV industry can do. And that's what we want to actually let you experience at ISE in May.
Great, thank you. Let me ask you 2 questions for our audience here and for those who are following us from the ISE channels, the cluster ones and everywhere, and also for my colleagues, the journalists who are probably following your speech. Give us a highlight, give us a flavor on some secret, some amazing thing that's going to happen this year.
The show's going to happen.
Yeah, I know that. Well, we hope that. I said I know that, but I'm not sure now about anything. But
we are talking at the moment to many of the major manufacturers. We know of quite a few companies who will be launching or showing new products physically for the first time. So, the highlights will be that you will see new things. You will see things that have not been put out in the market or that you may not have seen physically for some time.
Not sexy enough, but okay. Let me ask you another one. When we were talking about mobile, and John, the way they wanted to have a relation with Barcelona was creating a permanent structure here with Mobile World Capital Foundation and other initiatives. I know that you want that IC gets like or turns into something more intertwined with the city. How are you planning to do that relation? Is it with cluster? Is it also, yesterday we learned from the mayor of Barcelona, Colau, and the way they are working with the government in turning the Bezos area, these 3 chimneys, industrial chimneys, into a technological, audiovisual area. Are you working on having some kind of hub here where you can work day by day, not only a 4 days adventure?
So firstly, we are not going to be creating anything separate ourselves. We are facilitators. We already have a presence with the AV cluster and every partner that's here. We are part of this industry. We're not the industry, we're part of its industry, and we are the platform that helps this industry promote itself. That means that when initiatives like Palo Alto and the new facility start to happen, we will promote it. We've had meetings with both the city government and the Generalitat and pledged our support for such activities, and we will help them to actually launch them, push them, because it's our benefit. Mm-hmm. We already know that there are companies who have set up business in Barcelona as a result of ISE coming here, and we want to encourage more of those things to actually happen. So yes, we are promoting, we are supporting, we will be involved.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Mike. We'll back to you afterwards, perquè després de la presentació del Mike,
after Mike's presentation, we wanted to ask him these first questions. We will hear from Carlos now, then we will have another follow-up debate to see how brands can benefit from this.
Let me jump to Carlos. Porque, Carlos, cuando Mike hablaba, uno de los elementos que repasaba de Elise era, por ejemplo, cómo en Paseo de Gracia pones un coche nuevo, una presentación de un coche. Y tú de eso sabes algo. Pero más allá de lo que tú sabes, me gustaría que, como director de marketing de Sono Team, nos contaras un poco sobre Sono, nos contarais cómo os complementáis con el sector y un poco cómo trabajáis para hacer posible, pues, por ejemplo, eso, que un coche esté en medio de Paseo de Gracia.
Estupendo,
Cuéntanos.
Porque nada, creía que después de la presentación de Mike esto había terminado, porque yo no sé qué más se puede añadir.
No, queremos escucharte.
Pero bueno, algo más intentaré añadir, Mike, porque siempre es un placer escucharte, ya lo sabes. Para nosotros, ante todo, muchas gracias por habernos
Thank you very much for having invited to this event, because this is a very special year for us. We are 50 years now. We were born in 1972. So as the E-Games, the videos we will see later on, where you can see our experience. They were also born in 1972 with a bong. And this proves, in the world of events, the relevance this has as communication tool for brands. Because we wouldn't be here otherwise. There's the Qatar National Museum and the Spanish Pavilion in Dubai and vertical exhibitions as in education, as Mike was saying, yes, in Madrid. We not only do that, but we also have TV and we have lots of events. So for us, the pandemic has meant 2 very relevant years, but I'm an optimistic person. I prefer to see the glass half open, the glass half full, and I want to convey positivity in the stories I tell, because for us, this has been a moment of opportunity. Crisis is opportunity. This is what they say. Some people have stayed still, and we've tried to move forward. And, well, this has made us think how we can improve digitization of our events. This is what you were mentioning before, and how this is moving towards a world of hybrid events where there's an on-site part, a live part. This will never die. We are people, we like to stand close to each other. I believe that the evolutional change of people, well, we have been evolving throughout thousands of years. I don't know how we're not going to be social animals in just 2 years. So the only thing is that we've discovered that through digitization, we can have greater coverage for our events, greater coverage for brands, and therefore the event is no longer what it used to be, the small little brother or sister in the communication world, in advertising, for instance. They were the cool guys, you know, the event was the small part. And this is something incredible because we were the first ones talking about the suitability or appropriate coefficient towards the target. Well, everyone in an event is there because they want to be with you. So the pandemic for us has meant digitization and also place events where they should be, not only at a technological level, but also at a human level, because oftentimes we forget people, we neglect them. This has been 2 great years for risk prevention at work in our industry. We have realized how important it is for a rigger hanging from the ceiling, having training, of course, and safety measures, and this is still neglected. Sometimes you speak to companies and you tell them, hey, you have to have a preventive resource, someone in charge of the workers' safety in the event. It's not only the workers' safety, but also the safety of the client, because, well, this is sometimes forgotten. So the pandemic has been very good for this. Everyone says we are safe events now, secure, and nothing will happen. You won't get affected by anything, but sometimes we used to have people hanging from ceilings, and that was not secure at all. So anyway, this is when we have realized and improved this. I don't know whether you have my videos ready or not, or whether you want to show them or not. One is the pong and the ping. I don't know whether you have them or not. There you go, that's pong. Since 1972, witness of the gaming birth, 50 years growing together. And today, Sono is AV technology for sports.
Es el otro, el plato virtual, el set virtual.
That's the other one, that's the virtual set. Do you have the second video? We've worked a lot on it. So in the year 1972, now 2021.
Os damos la bienvenida a la nueva era de los eventos.
Welcome to the new era
el futuro
of events,
ya es
because
presente.
the future
Sono Team
is present,
forma parte de
and Sono Team is part of
A la
it.
experiencia de 50 años en el sector audiovisual y el poder de los mayores y más actualizados recursos técnicos,
se une el diseño escenográfico para eventos presenciales e híbridos, poniendo pie, como veis, en un campo nunca antes visto en el sector de los eventos.
Field that has never been seen before in the field of events.
Si no os importa poner detrás mío un sinfín que he puesto para que todo lo que estés
If you
poniendo
don't mind, please project my endless O. There at the back, there it is, yes. Okay. The screen shows things better than me. Well, it's good for us to see each other, isn't it? Yes, indeed it is. Okay, so in these 2 videos, I wanted to truly introduce what I wanted to talk about today. 2 examples where Sono actively participates and that are very much related to that world of events in terms of conveying or communicating the values of our brand. We're now used to brand positioning, talking about tone and personality, reality, something that was only found in the world of advertising. Many years ago, we took advertising concepts and we just landed them on a scenario or stage or the mechanics of an event. Now, the situation has forced us, I'd say we've been forced, otherwise we would still be in our comfort zone probably, but it has brought us closer to the world of content. When, as in the second video, you have a set, an infinity set with a camera tracking system, you're not only thinking about the technological part, but also the communicative part and the realization and production part of that content. When we talk about digitization, obviously we talk about Zoom and Teams, but we applied using TV technologies to avoid the screen saturation, because we're not only using events for small screens now as TVs, but also micro screens, so tablets, mobile phones, and small screens in general. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that events do branded content. So events as content generators and then through digitization, this has an amazing expansion. The virus is the perfect one of the downsides of it, but it has many positive aspects. A brand in an event can communicate all the values in the 5 continents. So, why would I say I would like to talk about esports? We have been participating in the e-games for a long time now. We didn't organize the events in itself, but we are the technological support, and I think you're actually, you're playing there? Yes, I'm world champion of Call of Duty. Well, I actually prefer some other games. We have been for 4 years, well, not just with technological component, also the production part and the teams, because sometimes what you seem to be seeing on a screen in the background and, you know, the technical operators, I'm not going to be using that screen, so don't worry about me. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Fantastic, fabulous. Okay, so there is a lot of pre-production work behind all this, and not everyone can provide this. So that is the value we convey. The e-games, well, why are we in the e-games? Because we are, as many other brands, endemic in the sector or the industry. I don't know whether, well, the world of e-games is relatively new, but also relatively old. It's been there for many years already, and it's taking a lot of, or big chunks of advertising budgets, taking it from football even. It's been taken to e-games and e-sports. So I'll just summarize this very quickly so that you can see the possibilities brands have through the content in an event and how they can relaunch or re-include that in the brand values through different sponsorships. You know, there's different players. They may be professionals or just amateur players like me, and they can be sponsored, all these players, of course. Sometimes there's like really great champions. It seems that esports is not big world, but it is. There's trainers and coaches there, and people who are psychologically supporting the players and how they should be playing the game. So you can sponsor a player. They are in different leagues or games. You can also sponsor those games. You have 2 different types of games. You have franchised games where teams pay a royalty to have their own slot and to have a specific frequency in these leagues, because the sponsor wants to know where they're investing their money. Of course, we live in a very volatile world, and, well, I may be investing in this league, but this league won't exist next year. So it's good to have franchised games, and you can guarantee the presence of players. But then there's non-franchised, like normal tournaments, and they're just based on the performance of teams, going up and going down. And finally, there's the publishers. They are the creators of the video games. Like Brave of the Games and League of Legends, they have their own league, and these people license, I don't know whether this is interesting or not, but I'm telling you because this has endless possibilities. So they license their own video games, whether to leagues or themselves. They can be organized as themselves. So when you sponsor a team in a League of Legends, for instance, you are sponsoring that specific game, so you are internationally reaching many different leagues. And the world of streamers that are so trendy now, with audience shares that are huge, and you may think this is just for young guys, young boys, and some of the people, well, I myself, I'm 31, of course, and I'm still playing. So, I mean, the target goes up to 40, 41, 42, 43, even 44 years. Lots of players, of course, there. You play less and less as you grow older. You play at other different leagues and different things, of course. Yes, that's what you do. So, just imagine that you have this content and you can be generating so many excuses so that through international and digital broadcasting, you get the interest of brands. You were answering a question before we were, having a coffee break, and I would like to now ask here, because you talk about corporate events and you talk about big events.
The way, and as we say in our company, and there was a journalist in Financial Times in 2006, Tom Faremsky was his name. He said, every company is now a media company. I would extend it into every one of us is now a media company. Y tú hablas de esa dualidad
So you talk about that dual character and nature by which there is a greater alliance or alignment with your audience. So how can we reach our audience better? In this specific case of esports, I guess you're asking after that, but just let's have a practical example with e-games, because it would be very descriptive. The best way to integrate that is to be part of the ecosystem, is to create a true ecosystem. I'll try to talk about the Metaverse. We will talk about that, definitely. Yes, I will be introducing that topic. That's one of my interests in the world of the e-games. So at the end of the day, these are communities of people, and you are communicating those values to those communities. So the ecosystem itself is the goal, the main goal, with a digital and on-site development in our leagues. Well, they start in July. You have some playoffs, everyone plays. There's a championship in IFEMA in Madrid for 2 days. And in terms of figures, in 2 days, 60,000 people participated. I mean, great concentrations of people are a bit maybe scary now, but 60,000 people, 200 hours of live streaming. And all the famous streamers, we didn't actually took that into account, but of course they were doing their own work too. So that's the ecosystem. In Gamergy, for instance, there's active presence of Amazon. You know, Amazon is owner of Twitch, one of the main platforms for the broadcasting of e-games. And Amazon has created its own ecosystem in Gamergy with Amazon Gamergy World. They are looking for this metaverse, and I, as producer of events, I'm very interested in that, because maybe we have to organize our trade fair in a metaverse.
I suppose that maybe in 1 or 2 years, or eventually very soon, like the Australian Open, Djokovic can be in the Australian Open right now. through the Metaverse. Yeah, it's true. The Australian Open started the Metaverse right now this year so that Djokovic and any other can join the community and the experience. So I don't know if you were planning to have ISE, like we said, mobile, or any of these huge events combined with the Metaverse, or having some guests connected with the Metaverse, or some, apart from exhibitors, visitors, being able to join some sessions, join even the whole event and walk around and experience with it. Did you think of that?
Yeah, we last year, it was a very big discussion because we were forced to put in a situation where we really couldn't run an ISE as we would like to. We created a virtual platform, and in the time before we actually finalized which platform we work with, we actually ended up working with one of our exhibitors, Cisco, who created a platform they wanted to test with us. But we'd actually, in the previous 12 months, been looking at all the different virtual platforms, and you wouldn't believe how many virtual exhibition platforms have popped up in the last 20 months. There have always been many there in the past, but I can say it's probably 20-fold increased in that time. Some of them work for some events. For our business, it's not really the ideal. It's great for education and learning, but we're in a business called audio-visual. And trying to experience the quality of a screen or the quality of the audio or how the final experience you're getting from AV through a screen just doesn't work. So whilst we see the value of education, learning, perhaps some networking opportunities through virtual platforms, through Metaverse, replacing an exhibition like ISE with that just will not work.
Do any of you, no sé si consideráis that in a virtual, let's say, Congress, are we, or is it difficult to have such an enriching or a good networking experience, business experience? No sé si se puede hacer negocios y networking.
I don't know whether you can have a networking experience, a business experience as good as that.
Carlos brought the point up when he was speaking before. We are social animals. We love this interaction. I don't know how many of you, I mentioned it many times, but I studied marketing, and one of the key things we learn about and use in sales and marketing is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the very bottom of that is social interaction, warmth, loving, being able to touch people. Because of our basic nature, this part is important.
Muy importante. Sin duda, totalmente de acuerdo.
Truly important. I totally agree.
Cuando hablamos de metaverso,
when we talk about Metaverse,
because
everything that is new has a great impact, of course, and we go from black to white and from white to black. That's the way we are. Human beings, we go to extremes. But first we need to define Metaverse. Is this going to be a single Metaverse? If this ever exists, will it be a place where there will be some monetary exchanges based on tokens and blockchain? Well, this is still to be matured, of course. Well, the Metaverse, for those following us from home or the audience, is not something new. Now there's a lot of hype on that because Mark Zuckerberg talked about Metaverse, so the value of the company has changed. But Second Life was a bit of a shabby Metaverse, and those of us who tested the glasses, Samsung glasses or goggles in the mobile a few years ago, and we tried that. Well, it hasn't changed a lot. There's an enriching offer, of course. There's more business. But it hasn't changed that much, yes. Absolutely. That's why it needs to be put in its place. But me as a brand, as Sono, why should I be interested in the Metaverse? Well, first thing I have to do or want to do is to know it, know about it. And then I try to approach it through the e-games, because at the end of the day, the Metaverse is a universe that is beyond the combination of social media, virtual reality, video games, and internet. And I believe that the entry point is through gamification. Having said this, this could have its applications in the future, but not just dramatic applications. Let's not forget, and I want to add, that the Metaverse somehow comes from the e-games and how people connect to chat, just to chat. And that Metaverse, at the end of the day, combines the different universes and avatars, and they go together to a concert, and they chat over a drink, as we used to do in nightclubs, which are now closed. Anyway, I just want to say something. Today we had also Joel Mestre from here, from NEP. He was bringing very powerful stories I would like to bring into the debate. I would also invite some people I see in the audience to bring some fresh perspectives. But let's look at Joel's video, please, with the innovative solutions of NEP.
Red Bull Batalla de los Gallos World Final 2020, we do one step further. The fans will experience a full immersive show that will be remembered for years. Last year, we already used augmented reality on the World Final in Madrid. The idea was to start using it to get the sense of the technology applied to the freestyle, what the spectator can expect to see from this year's World Final. It's one step further, a lot. I mean, we go 100%. We are producing a full immersive project, virtual sets all over the place, augmented reality for the content, and the spectator and the MCs, they're not probably ready for such an experience.
Augmented reality is combining a camera shot, from the real world, with a world inside a computer. So what we're trying to do is change the camera into a controller. So we try to make the real world and the computer world stay together as one world. And that way we combine things from the computer world with the real world. To make the camera as a controller, we have to know exactly where the camera is in the world. And that's a very complicated part. So if the camera moves forward a meter, the computer has to know the camera moving forward a meter. And a TrackMan makes sure all that information is correct.
Tracking system sends the data of the position live to the graphics system, and then the position of the graphics is placed into the set.
The most important thing is the battle going on. The MCs doing their stuff. And they shouldn't be bothered with all the technical stuff surrounding them. And we want to get all the emotions, all the things going on. We want to have that in the show. And the augmented reality just has to add stuff to this.
It's unique and special for two things, maybe for more, but for me two things. The first is Red Bull Batalla de los Gallos. It's a big and amazing show, exciting show. And for any director that likes to do TV on live and also like music and this kind of shows, this is unique could do a final for that. Second thing, it's the kind of technology we're using here to do a show on live. This amazing thing, this incredible team with people from all the world gives to the director a sense of I'm doing something that I could do one time, two times, three times, I hope more, but it's not normal to do that. Then this is really, really exciting.
We are creating together something new, a show that never been done before. We hope that the audience can appreciate that, the passion that we have put in this project all together with Red Bull.
Fantástico. No sé si pueden veure només.
Fabulous. I don't know whether you can see the evolution of this. Well, this is the freestyle rap battle, but in a hybrid format. So let's please see the second video.
Hasta donde puedes ver y no quita mi inmensidad. No quita su inmensidad. Ay, asesino solamente le queda gritar. Baja por el mar y baja el maricón. Lo siento, asesino, ya no aguantas la presión.
Hey, tú sabes que el universo es mi barrio. Convierto cometas dentro del escenario. Un meteorito dentro de este adversario. Hay un ojo de Dios dentro de constelación de Acuario.
Si entiendes el progreso, soy el paleontólogo, porque llego hasta el hueso.
Oh.
¡Al cayú! 3, 2, 1.
El futuro, soy como el tiempo porque avanza siempre. Tu mirada de idiota a mí no me convence.
Bueno, lo que decíamos.
As we were saying, this is just fabulous. Putting all this into context. As you were saying before, Carlos was telling me how to generate these credible or believable scenarios with these camera tracking systems. Sometimes you find that your head, your eye is telling you this is not real, this is false. But with Infinity, that is no longer the case. Exactly, not as much. I would just like to point something out. These videos are fabulous and describe the technology perfectly well. It seems to be a technology thought for big events, but that's not the case. We are using this in corporate events and product presentations. They seem to be very flashy, and it's true that they are more costly than a Zoom meeting, of course, because there is production. I don't know whether you've seen the red parts of the cameras, the camera spikes, which is connecting and tracking things from there. So don't really believe that this is just for big events for end customers. We're using it a lot too for consultant agencies in the corporate world. I think the case of Red Bull as a brand is very powerful. The drink is the least important part of it. They had the flying cars in a championship and this freestyle rap battle and their association with extreme sports and music and all the awards they generate have created a parallel universe out of this brand. In the audience, I see lots of people, but I see some people who can bring some knowledge. We have a couple of free chairs here. So we have Carlos Urtet. Can you please come up on stage because Carlos has an experience in a certainly complicated moment in Portaventura and he can talk to us about it. He is CEO of Thopa. Welcome. Carlos, could you please explain what Thopa is? So that we can understand and then we can explore the experience with Portaventura. This is a moment when it's very complicated to go to places such as this, but it has become a place presenting lots of shows and interesting events with streamers such as Piqué, eBay. Let us know what this is.
I don't know what language to speak because you're changing language the whole time. I'm switching.
I'm not that, yo no tengo aquesta habilitat, però...
I haven't got that ability, but as you wish. I will speak Catalan then. Given that we're here, well, I'll speak Catalan then. And, well, Thopa is a content company. Our skills, our creativity, of course, and production, and I'm giving our profile and the profiles we've learned in company technology as well. But all of it is useless, and unless we work very closely on the relation between different people, and things that have to do with loyalty brands and so on. And that's why we've worked a lot with different brands, and we've worked with branded content for a long time, both in a TV format and in a digital format. Okay, let's talk about PortAventura a little bit, the amusement park, because I believe that in a time of huge difficulties, well, you've done just about everything. We've seen new spaces, new games, also augmented reality. I mean, a championship. I mean, Edward's bought balloons so you can play with them. That's amazing. I mean, a balloon championship. How did you get all of that going? Well, just like any other huge advancement, what came out of our need, we hadn't planned to create this whole experience portfolio and go towards the virtualization of our park in such a short period of time, because it was unnaturally short. But it's true that relationships have something that's very important, which is that frequency of contact. And when that frequency of contact is stopped because we couldn't meet, and I mean, all of you have been in PortAventura, I'm sure. And what you like to have is the thrill, what you feel in your stomach, and everything's green, and your environment. All this experience is extremely physical. But when that's not available, we cannot just abandon our public. People like the brand, they like the PortAventura brand, so we have to create points of contact with the brand. And also what we mentioned before, the idea of creating a metaverse in which we can, jump on a ride, the Dragon can, for example. Well, of course, technology has improved the experience. It's boosted, actually, the experience. So everything that technology can contribute with, maybe, if, going 200 kilometers an hour or 120 miles an hour in a ride, and you're surrounded by fish, or you can be there with Ibai, in a world of balloons. I mean, you would not have believed that you were going to be watching that for 3 hours, but it happens. And all that's convergent. Are you actually working with Metaverse? Well, we are working on a long-term project, which is going to be, that's the vision of the CEO of PortAventura, which is digitalizing the park. Of course, that involves augmented reality environments and virtual environments. We did an augmented reality campaign all throughout Barcelona. You could measure your own kids and check to which rides they were going to be allowed in, and also to feed them properly in the midst of the pandemic, so they could grow more and so they could jump on more rides. But that's something that had started beforehand. Well, yes, but PortAventura as a brand and as a company. So you understand that you can increase the wish for that product. Well, we've seen you can experience things from your own house. Yes, but it's part of a continuum, really. We are very lucky here because people in Barcelona can go to PortAventura once a week or once a month if you want to. But some people live farther away. They live in France, the UK, or Russia. So they might be able to come here once a year, but they like the brand and they want to be in touch with that brand. The brand isn't just the experience of going on a ride or having lunch there or staying at a hotel. So that's what we tried to provide. We tried to provide continuity. Well, we were looking at those images, and that brought my mind to Albert Grau, and it's another person that's here with us. Albert Grau, he's the PUC CEO. So Albert, welcome. If you can share your mic with him, that'll be great, Carles. Albert, you, if I remember correctly, in 2020, you worked in this Batalla de los Gallos with Red Bull. Is that right? The one with that island, and you were using a 50,000 square feet chroma. So tell us your experience about it. Well, yes, and Joel gave me the opportunity to work and collaborate with him. In this event, I provided as much as I could. The truth is I learned much more than I actually contributed with. But as well, you've already seen the clip. It's just amazing. And technology is outstanding. and everything's at the service of content, which is what's actually very important. And I did learn a lot. It's a pity that Joe hasn't been able to be here with us today because he was really the protagonist. But I was there in the island, in Dominican Republic, and in the Pinewood, in all those Pinewood stages. And I was able to go there with, in the middle of the pandemic and carry out a production that I hadn't seen for years. Has there been any other experience that you've been part of in which there's that blend of the audience and the community? Well, I believe, this is top-notch, really, as this actually doesn't happen that often. It doesn't normally happen. But every day we have events. They range from simple events to more complex events, but normally, the simple events that happen every day. And production companies, that's what we are. We have to try to add value. So these events go a bit beyond and encourage the use of new technologies and add something that improves the events. Of course, we have to respect the work of everybody, but probably Red Bull's huge, but there are smaller clients that are the ones that actually help us stay alive. And these events are a challenge for us. But of course, there's a huge risk. If when you're a producer, you're risking all of your money, and you're flipping a coin, really, and all your brand is at risk. If you were rational about it, we probably wouldn't do it. But we love it, and it's a challenge, and we love challenges. It's a challenge both from a professional perspective, and it's also a way of learning and stay up to date and get to know technology firsthand. But it isn't just the technologies, but in many cases you get to know the hosts and musicians. So as a producer, you have to be up to date. Well, we're reaching the final stretch of this session, so if there are questions, we're going to start with the questions shortly, because we're going to get questions from people watching us online as well.
I wonder which of the new gadgets, which of the new solutions do you think can be more beneficial for brands? Should we talk about holograms? Should we talk about AR, VR, metaverses? What can be more helpful to connect those values, brand values, core values with the people, with their audience, with their fans?
My belief is AR is going to be the real deal. Glassless VR has just not really come about yet. And to try and get consumers to walk around outside wearing VR glasses is going to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. There have been various developments in the past. I see new ones coming up again in the last CES of using glasses where they have the opportunity to see through as well. That's something I think in training, in people who are working in environments where they need to get information regularly, that's going to be developed and do quite well, but in niches. But augmented reality has the biggest potential, and I think also for Metaverse as well, because there you have the opportunity to actually, there's so much you can actually bring into, I mentioned before about the Tesla, for example. Mm-hmm. I've seen a presentation using augmented reality where you go into a showroom and in front of you is just a plain clay model of a car. And around the walls you have a panel that shows the different colors of the car. And you take this and put it on the panel and the color changes. You have a panel that shows the type of wheels. You take that and you put it on the monitor.
You physically put it.
And it starts to create your car. So instead of doing every car manufacturer puts it on their website, build your own car, so you can actually see the car you're buying, how it will look. But seeing that in 3 dimensions in real size, where the basic model is there and you're adding the colors, you're adding the wheels, you're adding the accessories to see in front of you what that model is. So in retail, in such solutions, there is a huge benefit.
I was going to say in a car or in a hotel is harder, but at the end of the whole journey, the customer journey, it's add to cart.
Exactly. So that's something which will develop. We see hardware developments in curved LED, transparent LED. We're seeing LED screens being more flexible. So this is great for event managers, for event organizers to actually create sets. Even looking at your virtual backgrounds that you're using for the augmented sets that you're creating, phenomenal what you can create then. But when we look even further and look at what architects can do with that, suddenly, you have buildings,
cities,
doing the interior and exterior of these buildings and changing that whole environment. Look at a facility that changes through AV on exactly what it does. In the daytime, it's a conference room. In the nighttime, it could be a nightclub. And it's not rebuilding. It's a flick of a switch and changing those environments.
Absolutely.
And having transparent curved LED gives you more opportunity to create things like that. So these are two areas I think will be really taking us another step, a leap forward, not just a step.
Let me ask you something that I always wonder. And you just said AR. We know that Apple is launching new glasses kind of soon. We never know what is soon and what is fake, but it looks like it's going to be soon. Is Apple going to be in ISE anytime? Are you talking to them to say, hey guys, come here. I want you to be here.
It's funny, you brought a circle round. That first event I ran here in Barcelona was Macworld Expo. So, I have the experience of working with Apple. Apple is the bane for every exhibition organizer at the moment because it doesn't matter what city you've go to. Every major city has an Apple exhibition. Here on Paseo de Gracia, there is a huge Apple store. In the middle of Amsterdam, middle of London. So Apple feels that they have their own solution for launching products to their customers just like that. They have their exhibition stand in every city closer to their customers. The other problem we have as well for ISE is that we are business to business. The people who are actually getting the benefit from ISE are the ones who are actually creating solutions for customers. And many of the integrators can't really make any money with just doing something for Apple. Apple wants to create easy solutions that you don't need an integrator for. It's plug and play. That's their concept. You can buy it today, put it in your house, and it's simple to install, and you don't need an integrator to actually do that. So that's going to be the problem. Despite that, many integrators are actually putting some Apple solutions within the installations they're doing because they find uses for it, and it's what helps the customer. But going back to the question,
we won't see the Apple here?
It would be nice, but I don't hold my hopes very high at the moment.
So not in May? Not in May?
Not in May,
22?
No.
Maybe on February or May 23?
Maybe. We can hope.
We can hope, yeah. We can work on that. Carlos, ¿cuál crees tú que es esa tecnología?
Carlos, what do you think is the technology that can actually connect brands, the audience, and media, and the whole ecosystem now or in the next few years? It doesn't need to happen right now. Well, my answer is a bit more philosophical and conceptual. Okay, so I'll elaborate on it now. But probably the one that's most human-like, or more, I always back to what I mentioned before. I believe that the technology that's more humane and closer to a human being is the one that isn't going to work. Well, so you're talking about Metaverse right now, and on the extreme, I mean, you've got the utopia of unhappiness, because anyone who's unhappy wants to live somewhere else in a different reality. That's probably the extreme. What's the part that I would support? Probably an extension of your own reality, the fact that you can actually interact within a system, within an online system. So you can expand your possibilities, but not as a substitute of your possibilities. So probably the technology that works the best, the one that's better adapted to my body. It is true that you know, tasting a gin tonic with your glasses, it's a bit weird. I mean, you have to do a straw probably or something like that. But he answered. I mean, we agree without agreeing, actually, because I would say that probably artificial intelligence, which is an intelligence that's indistinguishable of. So I've just said that we agree without agreeing because artificial intelligence, when applied to any technology, is what's actually going to change, not just your experience, but the whole paradigm of the world we're living in. So the Metaverse, just like we got HTML5 and changed the way in which we interact within the internet, we'll get the Metaverse and we'll change the way in which we interact with the internet. But it's still an interaction. The real change of paradigm is the moment in which you will not be able to set aside what's human and what's not, because you'll be extremely happy because you're interacting with something that you're not sure if it's human or not, but that makes you happy. So that's what's probably most concerning. We have to shape it properly, so all producers and the creative experts, because I mean producers are normally humble, because we are the ones who, you know, we always go around with your wires and things, but we are actually shaping the future because we are creating experiences like this. I believe that the work you've done is truly amazing. So with people who are early adopters, you were saying like gamers, because gamers are you know, those technological kids that are not afraid of those technological borders, and they are carrying out a task that's helping all of us. I believe that's what the change is going to be. Albert, may I? Just you're mic'd up, so you can speak whenever you want. And given the fact that I'm part of Sono, and you know we've got my people here, they can close your mics. That's, you know, I've got the ultimate power with me right now. And well, I'm also talking as a publicist, because we come from the world of advertisement, and you're talking about artificial intelligence, and I've been part of many different debates around artificial intelligence with tons of people, and I always ask the same thing: will artificial intelligence be able to feel someday and be able to cry with you and share and empathize? You're going to say yes or no. I don't know. I think it's irrelevant, because you won't be able to set it apart. It's hard for me to see that, because I believe in human touch and human contact. Yes, but it's fine, because it'll be the way of you having a better relationship with artificial intelligence. The more you believe in the model, the more I'm a computer scientist, so the easier it will be for us to help that intelligence learn from you, so it behaves as you want them to behave. So we create trust relationships because we believe they are closer to us. So if an environment is adapted to you, it works better. But I mean, we're talking about transmitting values and brand values. This is philosophy, really. But behind technology and any something new, there's a whole concept that stems from philosophy or the evolution of culture. So when we talk about, I mean, we are in touch, or we're wearing our glasses today, because maybe we just had some connections in my brain. So we're interacting, but so it isn't just us. We're also in touch with the outer world. So I guess right now we're talking about quantum computing. I mean, it's great, but it's a bit harsh for me to grasp that. Well, I'm talking to you, but it's also frustrating because 7 out of 10 people here are looking at their phones, at least until we stop agreeing. But it's not an agile solution, and we need better solutions. Because when I was there at the beginning, you saw me. I was texting. I was on LinkedIn and so on. So I mean, it's not useful. I need something new. But I am requesting it as myself. I need to be. I need to be doing those things, but I have to keep on listening to you. So you see it in this room as well, because the integration system we've got right now, it's not efficient, it's not enough to cater for the needs of people. Please, let me ask Albert, so he can finish, so he can answer to this technology that would probably help connect brands, the audience, and everything else. So, and after that, we can open the Q&A session in case you have questions, in case the audience has questions, to wrap up. Yes, and forget about your phones, please. So tell me, which is, in your opinion, which is the technology that's going to be able to help brands and people and audiences to enter this universe, which is, it's not it's not purchasing, but you actually have to be very closely linked to that brand. Well, the only thing I'm actually, I believe that augmented reality, I believe that has to keep on growing. But at the end of the day, physical things, the physical aspect will always be there. In 2020, Red Bull in the Dominican Republic with no audience. In 2021, we did it again. I believe we did it in Viña del Mar, and with a ton of people. So I think there's going to be a combination of both. We're going to have, the real environment and sets, and that probably will be blended with augmented reality, but it's going to be physical, because if you're going to the Rolling Stones concert, I mean, their clips are great, but it makes no sense unless you're there and you can see them face to face. I mean, you need to feel the music, the vibration, and jump, and of course you can see one of those clips, and they're beautiful, they're amazing, and lighting as well. It's great, but I believe those are things that are going to probably add to each other, and it seems that augmented reality has a bit more future. Okay, augmented reality is winning. I don't know if there are questions. We have a couple of questions here. I don't know if you can give them a mic, please. If you can please introduce yourself before, because I cannot see you. And so I work in Lavinia. I'm Xavi Fisa. So this is a question, open question for everybody. It's for all the members of the panel. We have talked about events and how events help us expand messages and get in touch with the public. So I would like to know if you can share a case in which you're also able to generate income from it. Not just that, but because it is true that the physical dimension that's been reduced by the present situation is causing a loss of income. And this hybrid is, what does this hybrid scenario, this hybrid scenario allows us to connect, but we also have to make it profitable, or have the same income you get from a physical event. Who dares to say something about it?
So we went through this whole process last year to try and do a hybrid event, and it depends on scale. I think there are companies who've been able to create virtual events and be profitable out of it because they found sponsorship. What we've learned is that attendees are not willing to pay huge amounts, if at all, to attend virtual events in many situations, and that's the struggle. If you can find sponsorship and sponsors that get value out of just the branding, then you can make money. Our biggest challenge was getting interaction between audiences and the sponsors. And this was we've seen this on many, many hybrid events. The audience, the people attending, have been satisfied with the content that's been presented in terms of training and education, but the sponsors have been disappointed because they haven't had the sort of interaction they have in real events. So that's the challenge. We as an organization realize we cannot survive just doing virtual or events which are primarily in the virtual field. We need face-to-face interaction. We need to bring buyers and sellers together physically to make them work. So that's in the exhibition sector. If we talk about events and actually helping companies to brand and present themselves, it's been the only opportunity. And there, it's more a case of, do you have a customer who is satisfied with a virtual presentation, and can you give them the experience? We already see majority of brands are using social media, are using digital advertising, so they're all open to use digital formats to present themselves, and they have huge budgets. So yes, you can make money. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve and how and who you're doing it for.
Great. ¿Alguien quiere añadir algo?
Great. Someone wants to add something? Well, that's perfect. I mean, that answer was perfect, but as long as you reach more people, your revenue is going to be higher. If we talk about advertisement, if your event reaches more people, I mean, you're better able to monetize it. It is true that potentially you're going to make more money, but you'll be able to balance it. If it's a hybrid event, in terms of if it's just a digital event, it's just a matter of reaching more people. I believe that in the case of Red Bull, which is a brand that we have, what we've seen right now, I believe those events, these events aren't cheap at all. They're actually expensive. And, well, they sell the drinks. As far as I know, they are only selling drinks. And they use this promotion channel, and they're doing fun with it because their sales are increasing every year. So it's probably going to be a path that many brands will walk. You know, create these events to get people to know them using different channels or Twitch or whatever it is. But I believe this is a trend that's increasing, and the return will come from the sales of their product. Okay, but let's go to the next question. But I would like to mention something that's surprising. We have people from the Catalan AV sector, from the Spanish AV sector. Right now, in the economy of creators, we have more streamers and more professionals who have an event or who have an environment that's guaranteed by the audience. They're paying to have access to these channels. So they have to isolate some brands because they don't represent them properly, or they have to devote what they do to their audience. So that's a different flow of income. So I believe that changes the perspective, and it changes the relationship between the emitter and the receiver. But I believe we have a different question, another question here. Yes, good morning. My name is Tony Molina, and I'm here on behalf of Mutilde. We integrate AV in the rooms and virtual as well. But after the conversation between Carlos and Carlas, well, see, I just thought about this question. Well, it's more of a concern. I don't know if this is happening to you as well, but I'm afraid of this society. Aren't we causing this society to be more of an introvert and less social? Precisely because, well, due to all the things that we're talking about. And I don't know if this has happened to all of you as well, but everything's so new and everything's going so fast. And I get this feeling a feeling of concern, really. Thank you.
Hay que capar, yo ya entro. Es que he tardado más, entonces me he metido. Mira, yo creo que todo es una cuestión de responsabilidad. ¿Sabes lo que pasa?
I believe everything's a matter of responsibility. So all those of us who are working in communication, we have a responsibility towards the audience. So when technology is used properly, it's always good. I mean, Metaverse will be good if it's used properly. Otherwise, if you don't go to the extremes. But what probably concerns me most about this question is to get young people to understand it, because we are already able to understand what we're talking about. So if we go towards more digital scenarios, which is understandable and great, we have to be especially we have to teach young people that's the concern, because we are already able to understand that, but they're not. So we might create, so they might be living a different reality. So, but there are many different nuances, and so I believe we are responsible for it. Everyone involved with technology and communication, we have to teach what's good about this and which are the risks as well. So, Carlos. Yes. The question is, are we going to create a society of introverts? So the softest answer I can think of is no.
coges
And I think data is clear about it. I mean, you get, you're not a millennial, but people from Generation Z or 15-year-old, they express their feelings more openly, and they are able to share that with many more people, and they are more empathic. But much more than our own generation, they have many more contacts, and they devote much more time to communicating with other people. It's just that they don't do it in the way, in a way that we believe it's a legitimate way. But that's just something that's part of our generation. I have to find with my teams to call someone, because a 25-year-old thinks that calling someone is, it goes against the normal protocol. Call them. I just send them a text. I mean, calling, a voice call? Yes, do call them. And it's hard for them to do that. So one of the difficulties we'll find in May is that 15-year-olds need to reflect and to go to an exhibition. They'll send me the link. You say, it's not the same. But I believe that when they actually live it, they realize how hard it is to generate a relationship that ends up in a sale or a partner. But I believe your question is actually the other way around. We are in the era of hyper-connection and empathy, and we talk more about feelings than ever before. So I learn a lot. I have a bunch of kids, and I actually learn a lot from them, because they have an amazing self-awareness, and they don't mind sharing that with other people. So I have high hopes. Even for our generation, I believe we can learn from the young. Look at the Pelea de Gallos. I mean, they tell the truth to you. So this is the end of the session. It's been a great pleasure to listen to you, and it's been great to invite you to this last part.
Integrated Systems Europe, we know that these 2 months, extra months, are going to be amazing to create a super event. We'll try to talk to Apple if necessary, but we'll expect the best for it. So
we'll
thank you.
Commission,
yeah, we'll do something. We'll do something for sure. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for answering to every single question about it, and for being so transparent with all of us. Thank you to Mike Blackman, to Carlos Henao, director de marketing de Sonoteam. Gracias por estos micros que no han estado silenciados.
He's marketing director at Sonoteam. The mics have worked, which is great. Yes, we're quite nice. We're quite nice. So, yes, we were good with that. Thank you, Carlos, for being with us, and Carlos Artet from SOPA, and also Mr. Grau. So it's been good to have you here as well. And well, it's been actually more of a robbery. We asked them to jump on stage, but it's been we have had NEP as well here. I mean, we have shared these experiences, great experiences with you as well. And now it'd be great. Well, we invite Eduard to close the session. Eduard Gil, he's the director of the cluster. So thank you.
Hola, sí, muchas gracias, Pipo, Mike, Carlos.
Hello, thank you very much, people. Mike, Carlos, and Albert. This is the 9th edition, the end of the 9th edition of Zoom Marcas, Zoom Brands. Rita, Martha, thank you very much. We've been talking about the event a lot this week, of our corporate event, and Axio and the communication department of the presidency of the Catalan government, they have helped it out with this event, and of course, Lach and Sono, who have collaborated with their technologies. It has been a very complex event this year. This is probably the worst week of Omicron. We have wanted to carry out an event that could reinforce the world of the event industry and conveying value to this transformation. So in a complicated week as this one is, where all events are being cancelled in Barcelona, and behind these events, there's an industry that is being transformed, and technology allows us to have and hold an event such as this. We couldn't have Joel Mestre here. He had the video call ready to jump in, but he has a temperature and he couldn't. So despite that we could hold the event, we had Carles and Albert also contributing to the table. Thank you very much, because I called them last night very late and they were here first thing in the morning. So thank you very much to them and everyone connected through streaming and everyone here in the audience. Thank you very much and see you next time.